Talk about mental health a little bit too. Okay. I know that it's all Blair. I don't know if you want to get on that. Sorry, I didn't mean to hijack that.
No, you can talk about whatever.
Yeah. I know that I think we're all seem to be passionate about the mental wellness, mental health aspect of the fire service. I'm very, I guess, new to it in a lot of. As far as the fire service side and getting involved, and moving over to the county has opened some doors for me to help with that, and so I'm super excited about that. It was brought up, and I wish I would have thought of this, being married to someone that was in the military, but also getting mental health wellness for spouses as well, because they have a lot to deal with as well, dealing with us. And we're going home to them and kind of either not talking to them or dumping stuff on them or whatever, like are coping with them at home, and it affects them. And I say that because I was a spouse of someone in the military, and I wish that I would have had some help as a spouse dealing with someone that was having mental health issues, Yeah,
that's a valid concern. I really haven't even thought that far. Mm-hmm. Like, I think I've been more hyper-focused on just the people in our industries, but there's no reason why the same system that we set up to help us can't just be extended out a little further. It's not a for-profit situation. Mm-hmm. Like, we're just trying to help. So, yeah. Spouses, you're right. You can go home and mishandle it 9 times out of 10. You either say too much or you don't say anything, or you cope in whatever way that you figured out that works or you think works.
Mm-hmm.
The approach that the peer system is taking, where it's other firemen talking to other firemen, is, to me, the best approach. Because I can relate to that. If I have an issue, I can relate to Steve, I can relate to Laura, I can relate to Blair, I can relate to Jeremy better than I can relate to somebody else. And that could just be the old school of me and the hard ass in me, or whatever it may be. But I'm not by myself. I can promise you that. There's a whole generation of me's out there. So what advice do you have for folks like me?
I think that I think that the peer support is like, that role is we're the bridge. Like, that's what we've been taught in peer support. Like, we're the bridge. We're here to listen and be that bridge if you need it, like, to link you to. You might not need it. You might just need to talk and vent. That's it. That's okay. You don't need, that's fine.
How do I know if I need it or I don't?
I can't tell you that.
The book answer is if it impacts your life, your day-to-day life.
How do I know that? How do I know if it's impacting my day-to-day? What about entertaining the idea of mandatory post-incident stuff? Like, right now we have things in place. You can help me with this on terminology because I'm not great with it. But, if you have some kind of a traumatic call or whatever it may be, we have things in place where you can do a debrief, right? But it's not mandatory. What if that becomes mandatory? You don't have to participate, but you have to sit there. It's mandatory. You have to sit there. If you don't sit there, there's some kind of repercussion for it. I'm not asking you to participate. Maybe it helps you. Maybe it doesn't. That's not my decision to make. But you're going to be there.
There's valid arguments both ways.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you can I get what you're saying. Maybe you can spin your view on that as like, I'm going to go and I'm going to listen, but I'm going to actually see, I'm going to watch Steve. And if Steve seems a little like, I don't think he's okay, I'm going to just keep an eye on that. And then afterwards, you know, you can listen, like, you can just kind of be that outside. Like, that's how I would do it. If I felt like, well, that call didn't affect me, I feel fine, but I'll sit through this and I'm going to, like, listen to my peers talk. And maybe down the road, maybe in a couple of weeks, maybe it's the next day, maybe it's a month from now, I'm going to remember that they were having trouble with that, and I can go and reach out to them just to make sure.
But if it's not
they're
mandatory
okay.
and you don't feel like you need to go because it didn't affect you, how are you going to be that person?
That's a good question. I mean, do you go just to support your? That's up to you. Like, do you go?
Good
to support,
humans would, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
would
yeah,
you just
but that's
go
not
to
a thing.
to
I mean,
your crew is going.
I think if you
so-
go through a traumatic experience,
Yeah.
if whatever the spectrum is would be deemed a traumatic experience, it is mandatory for your crew to go. Every one of you, whether you're affected by it or whether you're
Yeah.
not. What's the worst that can happen? You get paid for 2 hours of your time.
Right.
Boo-hoo.
Yeah.
I
So-
struggle with the
Please,
word
somebody-
mandatory and mental health. Like,
Okay.
that rubs me a little bit wrong.
Okay. I like the counter argument.
Are you trying to say that if it's not mandatory, you shouldn't, like, I'm not going to go?
If it didn't affect him, is
If-
what he
yeah,
said.
yeah.
That's
if
exactly
it's-
right.
yeah.
Me as a me,
So that just falls on you, though. But, like, I think it goes back to, like,
I wouldn't have the opportunity to be compassionate towards you if I wasn't present when you were having your moment, your
Yeah.
moment of expression, your moment of relief.
yeah.
I wouldn't be able to comprehend the idea that there was something bothering you if I wasn't present during that time. It would just be hearsay or whatever I might hear throughout the department, or there's three of us, right? There's three of us on a company. Steve goes, you go, cool. I don't go. All right. Steve hears this out of you. Then Steve tells me his interpretation of what he thought happened to you. Now I have to take his interpretation and interpret it into how I can help you. Versus if it's mandatory, I hear it with my own ears. Like I said, what's the worst that could happen? It's 2 hours.
Yeah.
This is just one side of an argument here. I'm not pro or found of any of it. It's just an idea that I'm throwing up because it's a thing.
When I changed my mind on mandatory mental health, Trevor and I don't think you were there, King. You might have been.
Was that the car?
We ended up going to Grace Baptist Church.
I was there, but I didn't come in because I wasn't in the call.
So it was mandatory. Chief Stoffel was like, get in the truck, we're going. So we all go in, and we're in this room. Law enforcement was running it, and they made it mandatory for everybody to show up. Dispatch is there, fire, law, EMS. And this guy was made to come, and he did not want to be there. And he stormed in the room and let every one of us have it. And the guy was gone mad, like irate. And he was so mad at his administration for making him come, and it shook the room. Like, everybody was like, oh, thank God, when he walked out.
Yeah.
And I was like, that probably shouldn't have been mandatory. His supervisor should have seen his position and was like, this is mandatory, but you can go home.
Well, I understand that, but I don't really feel fond of somebody else fondling my nuts once a year, but I have to do it, right? I mean, I have to go get my physical, right? I have to go get a medical procedure done where I have to drop my pants in front of another human being that I know nothing about.
Yeah.
All right? So you suck it up and you do it. I mean,
I think it's
this
easy to
world
see.
is filled full of things that we don't want to have to do. It's the emphasis on what you feel is serious or not. All right?
Yeah. Here we are, two guys that get along, and we're on opposite sides of it.
That's
So
fine.
It's pretty easy
Maybe
to see.
we don't put the words mandatory on it.
Yeah.
Maybe we can find a way of saying mandatory a different way, using a different verbiage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it might be just hung up on the word. At the same time, I get what you guys are saying. Do you think if it's, they're investing the leadership or the municipality or whatever is investing in you through health insurance and all kinds of other ways, training, I think that their intention is to invest in you with mental health as well, or mental wellness, whether you think you need it or not. But you're also, when you go, you're going to be learning for your peer as well. Like you might be okay, and that's fine. There's nothing, you don't have to have, anything wrong, but you can go and open your mind to it and learn and try to understand where maybe someone's coming from. So maybe you can be that person one day down the road where you see some guy, the guy in the crew that might be having trouble with something. And so I think if you can just get past that word mandatory, and kind of, again, maybe it's more of a selfless act, like to go and to just learn, just be open, try to be open to it. You don't have to agree with what they say, but at least, yeah, you're getting paid to be there,
The next part, so me and you disagree, right, on the mandatory thing. If we were in a paid situation, like we're running a department and me and you disagree on it, if rank came in and now I outrank you and it's like, nope, we're going to do it my way, I think that would be a failure, right? But if we can disagree, but we're like, you know what, we both do agree that what we're doing right now needs help, right? So instead of facing off, we shoulder to shoulder, and now we explore and look for, I think that's the missing piece.
Explanation of motives.
Yeah, let's just let's agree that, all right, let's try to work together and find and take away the pride or ego.
Yeah,
that
the
we
stigma
talked about
of the whole thing that surrounds all this giant balloon that hangs over us all. Yeah.
Yeah, there's an answer.
Do you think that we're gonna play through this weird music? Do you think that the inter-crew dynamic and the relationship that the crews have within themselves play just as much of a part on the mental health of the crew itself as this whole, surrounding? I've said it time and time again, and I'll say it with you. It's everybody likes to focus on the bad call, but there's so much more when it comes to what I view as mental health, and mental stability. Mental hygiene is what I like to call it. You don't brush your teeth when you have a cavity, you brush your teeth to prevent cavities. So the inter-crew dynamics and keeping this mental health hygiene up, keeping everybody healthy, keeping everybody cool, calm, and collected, letting you know that, if we have an issue, if we have a shitty call, we can talk about it right here. We can talk about it. We can dissect this thing at the kitchen table, recliners, radio room, whatever it may be. Do you think that would play just as much as a role as this interjection into peer support, peer fitness, all this, this, I don't know what the words to say, this kind of interjection into all this focus from the outside into this? Maybe put a little bit more responsibility on us senior drivers, company officers and stuff like that to keep up the mental hygiene of our companies. Thoughts on that?
Yeah. You want to go?
Hit me, Blair.
I don't know if I necessarily agree on the seniority aspect of that. I think it's everybody's responsibility to keep check on their people. Like if you were my driver, I wouldn't have a problem coming to you and be like, hey, you good? You want to talk? You need to talk? Same with my captain. I would feel equally as comfortable because it's important to me. Like we all got to be game ready.
Yeah, I feel that.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, I feel that.
And I would hope that they would turn around and do the same thing to me.
Sure.
Yeah.
They sure should.
Yeah. I don't think rank really has.
I've been beat up on the rank. Like, this is the second conversation where
Yeah.
I've been beat up on the rank.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know if it's
I understand you're trying to set the example. Definitely, I think, when you're in a leadership position like that, you should set the example for sure. But at the end of the day, I mean, we're all like looking out for each other.
Sure.
So it doesn't matter.
You know where I think your approach makes sense is culturally, like if it's shared and you teach the drivers that are coming up, like, hey, this is something you need to be doing, it makes perfect sense to me. But if you had a chief level officer come in and say, all right, you are in charge of checking on them because you're the senior guy, you're in charge of, then you might assign the wrong person to be it. You know, I think that's where you're talking about one thing, but two completely different directions, and one's successful and one's not.
Sure.
I think that's what Matt's trying to say is that it's a shared responsibility. That's where we need to get out above. There's a time and place for chain of command.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to mental health and looking out for each other, it needs to be you recognize something, you see something, you need to say something.
Yeah.
That's how we prevent these suicides.
Yeah.
Well, that's what
Especially you got these new people, and the new people are committing suicide, but these older guys that don't show any signs because years and years build up on them. So therefore, Blair works for me. I start turning on a deep dark path and recognize something, see something, say something. You gotta approach that. You gotta be able to approach that person. You gotta have that mutual respect.
I guess my mentality of the seniority thing is not necessarily based on a command structure. It's just the fact that, you know, I'm senior to the house. I'm senior to the crew. You know, I play the senior. Although authority doesn't matter. I'm not talking about authority.
Yeah.
I'm just playing to the tempo of the crowd that I'm around. You know, I have more time with these people. If you're new coming into my crew, or you're, just, new being around me setting the tone saying, Blair, you good? Lets you know that I'm paying attention to you and that it's okay for you to ask the same in return or to ask somebody else like that. That kind of thing is acceptable here because, for lack of better terminology, Hoffman says it's cool for it to be here, or Steve, or Blair, or Laura, or Jeremy. You know, whatever that role may be. You know, that kind of terminology or that kind of thing that says, you know, what's cool around the table and what's not cool around the table, or whatever it may be. You know, when it starts with somebody else. You know, and I just put that responsibility heavily on the senior people because I view myself as a senior person within this organization. So I feel as if it's a heavy responsibility for me to pay attention to my people and say, you all right? And then for them to do the same. You know, that opens up the line of communication that says, it's cool for us to talk about this.
Yeah.
So that's where I say that it has nothing to do with seniority as far as authority goes. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Hearing you put it that way, it seems perfect.
Yeah. I think that would be with anything, whether you're, working out and setting the example, or eating right, or going out and training, or whatever. Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. Anything. Like, I'm looking to you guys because you're the leaders.
That's right.
And
But
so-
you as a new
so-
person,
Yeah.
we're never talking about that, or we're
Yeah.
never viewing any of that stuff. We would never have any idea that you were struggling with anything.
Yeah.
You know, if that's just not an open window that you get to, that you get to walk through, or an open door that you get to say, that's a world that, does exist with these other folks that, have been doing this job longer than I have.
Yeah.
And I think that would translate to, when you further yourself on into your career, you get a hardened person or somebody's been dealing with this for a long time that starts going down a deep dark path, and they'll be like, I've heard these conversations, or, fuck it. It's
Yeah.
okay to ask
Yeah.
somebody,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have to be scared, just ask them. What do I have to lose?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's a touchy issue.
It
and
is.
Bless the hearts of the people who are trying to figure it out. I wish I had a black and white answer for them, and they could hear it right here first on Primary Complete, but I don't. I think it's I think this setting, this right here, this conversation, the positives that can come out of it, I think that would be. I think that's the key to all of it. You have to have a conversation about it, whether it's good or bad. Me and Steve have different perspectives on everything. We talk long enough, we're going to have different perspectives on all kinds of things. Yeah. But I think this is where it has to start. It has to start with people talking.
Communicate.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'd say there's a real strong chance I'm going to have to break this into 2 shows.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah.
Laura, Blair, it's been a pleasure. I hope to have y'all back on soon. I've enjoyed a lot of your perspectives on things, males and females in fire service. It's a real thing. Go get them, girls. All right. Anything else you want to add?
No, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks
It's
for coming.
been really fun.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed it.
All right. Appreciate it.